All right, this was a big day for Malachi Starks, Mikael Williams. Gunnar Stockton threw a lot of footballs. NFL's Pro Day at Georgia 2025. Ryan Curley, very quick thoughts. Tate Ratledge taking snaps at center, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, Mikael Williams only did the 40. He ran, everyone was reporting, in the high 4.6s, low 4.7s, so pretty good time for him. That's all he did. Malachi Starks doing drills at the end. I thought it was a big day for Dan Jackson, Chaz Chambliss, guys that didn't get invited to the combine. Benjamin Urasic. I messed up his name too, but they had good broad jumps, good vertical jumps. In the 30s, bench reps. I think Tate Ratledge, out of all the Georgia guys, had the highest bench reps that I heard. It was somewhere between 31 and 35. Chaz Chambliss was second. He had 30 reps.
Chaz Chambliss looked good.
Yeah, 225 pounds that they're repping there. But I thought it was a good day. Obviously, it kind of got rounded out there with Gunnar Stockton throwing to Arian Smith, Dominic Lovett.
Yeah,
Trevor Etienne.
So Gunnar was not as accurate today as at first. I thought he was quite accurate. Actually,
yeah, and then it teetered off.
The deep balls were not super accurate. I thought, I want to just say this out loud. I thought Arian Smith had a good day, and then it tailed off at the end too. So, I don't know, Ryan. I mean, like, I'm not an NFL scout. I don't sit here and, it's not what I do. I don't cover NFL teams. I think Arian Smith probably helped himself today, but there were some times when they asked him to do a particular thing and he messed it up. I don't know if that will really matter. I didn't see any drops from the receivers.
I didn't see any
Arian Smith, to me, jumped out comparatively speaking to the other receivers today. Tate Ratledge taking snaps at center. Anyway, go ahead. You might have had something to say about Arian.
Yeah, I mean, he looked. That was the thing on him his entire Georgia career was the drops. And Dominic Lovett had some drops. He almost dropped the pass, but he corralled it.
Did Etienne help himself today?
I thought Etienne helped himself out. Etienne looks shifty. He looks maybe thicker than I realized. Like, without pads, you realize he's pretty built low to the ground and thick and muscular. And he proved at the combine he's explosive with that 4.42 time. I thought that he looked really crisp on his routes. It was the short and intermediate routes is where Gunnar Stockton looked really crisp, and he wasn't missing guys. The only guy that he threw really inconsistently to overall in all the routes was someone he doesn't throw to a ton. A guy named Isaiah Reeves is not someone that he's used to throwing to as much. But with Arian, I mean, the long, quick strides stand out to you. We're not scouts. I mean, we can pick out some of these things and say that those are good traits. You can see explosion in some of these drills. I think a year ago you could really see the explosion in the shuttle drills with Lad McConkey and the ones where he just has to shuffle his feet. You could see a couple years back with Trayvon Walker and the long arms and some of those defensive line drills. And you've seen guys hurt themselves with bad workouts, like Jalen Carter two pro days ago, where he couldn't even finish it and he looked like he was about to throw up and he's sweating, and it just... So I think that it was a positive day for guys like Dan Jackson and Chaz Chambliss, first and foremost, who this is one of their only real opportunities to do it in front of all the scouts. And Dan Jackson, people were saying, was running in the 4.4, 4.5 range, and that's going to help a guy who, look, a few years ago, no one would have thought that he was someone that was going to be drafted to the NFL, and now he's put on a ton of NFL tape over the last few years and gets to work out today. Jalen Walker didn't work out, right? The reports are that he's dealing, nor should he really. The reports have been that he's dealing with some sort of thigh issue. That's what I've seen, at least online. He spoke to the media for a few minutes, but look, there's three guys in this thing that are probably going, two of them almost for sure, and then Malachi Starks probably a first-round pick here. But Jalen Walker and Mikael Williams, you don't see them do that much. They don't really have to, because it's the traits and the potential and the tape that they put on that this is going to come down to. But I thought for the most part these guys helped themselves. There's people stumbling during certain drills. Chaz Chambliss is stumbling during the shuttle drill. I don't know how much people are going to look at that and be like, okay, well, you stumbled during this drill. That means you
that's
can't.
As much a part of this as anything, which is what happens when you make a mistake or what happens when you have a failure. Are you freaking out or anything? Because guys are going to have 15-yard runs on you in the NFL, so it's how you react. Again, to me, the guy that popped the most is Arian Smith, but it may have been that, I don't know. I mean, he really looked good. There were times that the ball, Gunner, maybe I'll live to eat these words. He doesn't seem like a deep ball guy today, but I think that Gunner had for sure, balls that are closer to the line of scrimmage, he's better at those. But deep balls are not easy to hit. Everybody's not Steph Curry and so forth. But I thought at first, I was like, yeah, Gunner looks good, but then the ball was behind a little bit. But look, man, it's a 2 hour. What was it? 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
Something like that. And you're stopping and starting in some cases. Gunner was not. I think Arian Smith is the one that jumped out so far. Mikal Williams had one event. It's hard to know for sure with the movement of the offensive linemen if the scouts are seeing what they want to see or not.
Yeah, and it's obviously tough for us who are not offensive line coaches to know exactly if a certain guy. I thought that all of them looked similar. I mean, if just off of the eye test, it looks like Dylan Fairchild is the strongest of that group. It was Fairchild, Tate Ratledge, Jared Wilson, and Xavier Truss. And Truss is the one that has the lowest grade out of all of them going into this NFL draft. But I didn't think that he was noticeably lacking compared to the other three. There wasn't something that stood out where it was like, okay, Truss can't do that. He looked just as shifty, just as strong as the other guys. But the build of Fairchild, kind of more of a compact lineman, and that's 6'4" range. You can see the strength with him. Tate Ratledge is hard. It's hard to miss a guy that's 6'6" with the hair flowing, and he's quick. But when you look at what scouts think of these guys, they're considered some of the most athletic linemen in the entire draft. In fact, Ratledge and Jared Wilson, if you go and look at the advanced stats, they're considered the two most athletic offensive linemen in the entire draft. So every team was represented today. I saw two head coaches with my own eyes, and I saw a third head coach on Instagram. But yeah, lots of Falcons representation. The GM, Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, and then plenly of other staff members.
Which it should be. It's an hour drive.
It is. Yep.
I wanted to say this about, this is not the traditional video. There's only one pro day a year. NFL scouts see the Georgia players every time they practice. So this is the last sort of public moment for players in front of all 32 teams that are represented. Tomlin was there today. Tomlin's always in Athens. From the Steelers, I should be more specific. So there's,
I believe his daughter goes here.
So there's always, this is the last moment. You're not going to correct everything. You're not going to go from a C to an A, or even in Jalen Carter's situation, you weren't going to go fall out of the first round.
He fell to 9 and has won a Super Bowl since then.
Right. So. He probably should have gone first overall. I can't remember that draft specifically, but he should not have gone 9th. But so it can cost you a few million or hundreds of thousands of dollars, or it can earn you that. But at the end of the day, it's just like everything else. We were talking about walking to the car about consistency. These guys, have you been consistent? Has Arian Smith been consistent at Georgia? No, he's not. Was he consistent today? More. But this is one day. Gunner Stockton was, not as accurate, if you want to call it that, as you'd like. Oh, the balls were, but you could see some of the deep balls were getting hung up, or it would be the way I'd put it. That might not be the way that they play. There's different. Taj Boyd at Clemson was really a side-to-side quarterback. They won a lot of football games that way. They beat Urban Meyer's undefeated Ohio State team. You don't have to play the way that people want you to play. You get to play however you want to play. And for these guys, this is the last moment that they get before they go to like individual workouts with the Patriots, or God forbid the Jags or somebody like that. You'd want to get to a good organization, but you got to go to one of the 32. And I think today, Arian stood out for sure. It was great to see Gunner Stockton throw. It was great to see Gunner react with other people. It was curious to see ETN without pads. I think Tate Ratledge is a bubbly personality, shows. So you get to see the intricacies of all that. I am reminded, of, I think the first pro day I covered was David Pollock's first pro day, and the way that the sport, that this event has evolved shows 20 years later how important it is to the NFL as well as to Georgia. This is inside guys are completely, it's completely a business transaction in every single way. I don't know. I'm sorry I keep talking, but it is always curious to compare and contrast. I think Arian Smith had a day that opened my eyes. Can he, does this get people talking, or is it just me just kind of being an idiot? I don't know.
I mean, like you said, is inconsistent career at Georgia and not a single drop, and you look for that in these moments. Now he doesn't have pads on. There's not a safety coming down on him or a corner tipping the ball. So
he looked really good today.
But he just looks like a physical specimen. I thought ETN jumped out the most to me, just the eye test, just the shiftiness, the crispness, the hands, the explosion. I think that Dan Jackson maybe helped himself the most today.
Where is Dan Jackson? Where should Dan Jackson expect the best case scenario to have his name called? 6th round?
I mean, I think a best case scenario could be 4th round at the highest, but I don't see him going higher than that. That would be if, who knows what these interviews hold, right?
Well,
sometimes people fall in love with the person too.
He's not going to have a problem with that. But I guess for me, we've talked a lot about the Falcons lately, and my critique of the Falcons is never ending. But I don't care about the Falcons, but I do follow sort of the back and forth of it all. My critique of the Falcons of late was, I didn't really have a beef with them taking a tight end. I didn't really have a beef with them taking a running back. But to do that as high as they were, 2 of the 3, I mean, Bijan is a star. Kyle Pitts is really good too, but he's not like the running back is.
No.
So, but my critique was, why are you taking guys where you take them? With Dan Jackson, why would you ever take him in the 4th round? I would not.
No, I mean,
it's nuts. I'm not
quite,
trying to shit on you.
I mean, he's not quite the athletic freak that some of these. He's not Malachi Starks.
No,
and he's not reaching the top speeds.
Well, when you look at Malachi today, I mean, Malachi, you were saying, what do you think? The only reason he's out there is because he feels like he has something that he can lock down and improve on. He feels like he can go higher. And Williams didn't. All he had to do was run.
That's what I was about to say. All he did was run. He didn't feel like
he doesn't need to get out there
because he's a guy that's going to get drafted in the top 10, kind of regardless of what. Unless today looked really bad, because he has the physical traits.
I've talked to people that I know in the league, and they're just like, there's almost no way he gets out of 15. Like, he's just too.
I'd be surprised if he gets out of 10.
He's just too, like, him and Jalen are just too kind of locked in. That's the thing, man. Like, you can't go into your final exam needing to score 115 on your test to get an A. We're almost at the most important. I mean, all the work is done. These guys have worked for 8 years since high school to get to this point, and now they're going to get paid substantially, NFL money, not Georgia money, to not Ryan Curley money, but NFL money.
They couldn't do that.
There's a difference. Ryan Curley money, Matt DeBerry money. But you can't solve it all in one day. But I when you've seen the Stafford Zoo, that was that pro day, when you've witnessed a lot of the Aaron Murray was there today, Shockley was there today, Gunnar Stockton. There were a lot of SEC winning quarterbacks there today, actually. It's hard to know. You can tell first rounder when you see it.
Yeah,
I'll
that's for
put
sure.
it like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's how. I think this is my 4th pro day that I've done.
Yeah, you've done several.
This might be the 4th one. The people that stand out the most are the ones that end up being 1st-round picks. Nolan Smith, I thought, really helped himself at his pro day.
He really
I don't
did.
know if I've ever seen a guy get as horizontal as he did on some of those drills.
That was such a good pro day.
And he ended up being taken in the end of the 1st round. He wasn't projected to be.
I did not think he was going to be a 1st-round guy, but he sure was.
Yeah,
man.
so
and that pro day had to help.
It had to. I really wanted to see Michael Williams in some of these drills because he would have stood out, but he feels he doesn't need to do that.
People say, "Oh, well, he wasn't great at Georgia." Yeah, well,
he was hurt a lot.
He was hurt a lot this last year, but his, is he great at Georgia or not? Is sort of the Anthony Edwards debate. It's, do you see the length of Williams? Because you don't, because you're seeing it on television. His length is significant and very noticeable, and that's the part that's going to get him paid a lot of money. Final thought from Ryan Curley.
Yeah, I thought the guys helped themselves. I didn't see anything that told me, okay, this guy hurt his stock today. I mean, out of all the people, I thought that everyone was consistent. But like you said, the skill position guys kind of popped the most. And I think it was a good workout for guys like Chambliss and Urosic and Dan Jackson, who didn't get to work out at the combine. I thought all of them looked pretty good too.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.